Why, hello. Hello, and welcome to the first RedJay stream in actually, technically, it's only been a few months, I think, but first full real stream in damn near half a year. December 27th was the last, this was the video version. My last director's commentary that was uploaded to my channel, the last video that was uploaded to my channel was half a year ago at this point. I have taken a hot minute getting to this and getting to RedJay content in general, but I have my reasons. Some are good, some are not. Let me go ahead and mute the music. I don't know if that's overwhelming. I haven't done this in a while. First of all, I am in a new environment than I have been previously. So also, if there's a little bit of echo, let me know. I'm not gonna be able to fix it, but I know it's there. Just hopefully it's not too overbearing. But I have since moved since my last live streaming extravaganza and most of my RedJay content. My new place has a very big, tall ceiling, which makes it very, very echoey in here. So I need to soundproof it. But for my past few videos, what I've been doing for the voice lines, I've got this privacy screen. Here, let me just show you. So like a privacy screen, one of Google Images, don't screw me. These aren't a privacy clothes screen. These things somewhere. None of these look anything like what I have. It's this. It's basically something like this. I get one of these and I fold it out as a little C around my desk, and I drape a bunch of towels and blankets over the sides of it, and then also over the desk in my head, so that I have a little sound booth to cut down on the reverb and everything. It's not perfect, and ideally I would have put shit up around to make it more soundproofed, but when I'm not recording voice lines, I obviously don't want to be crawling into a tent every time I'm at my desk. So for now, it is going to be echoey. And I hope you all forgive me for that, but I don't want to put that up for a stream. But yeah, I haven't made RedJay content in a hot minute. If I go over to my account, I can show you just how long it's been. Hopefully I come up when I type RedJay. Okay, the channel's not too dead. That's good. But yeah, 6 months ago was the last time I had a video post, and my last live stream was supposed to be this 5 months ago, as you can see. And then I had so many technical problems that I was like, fuck it, I'm done. And I just gave up on it. But man, yeah, I really wish I continued this Alien Isolation, but then October ended and I'm like, nah, the Halloween thing's done, whatever. And then I gambled, and then man, if you have no context, it looks really sad that I just was streaming, and then I did a big gambling stream, and then I just fucked off forever. You could have assumed I drank myself into a coma or something from debt. Anyway, welcome. It's been a while, and I see there's a lot of first message notifications that I'm getting. So, for this type of live stream, what I've been doing, or what I do, I basically watch and react to my whatever video I'm reacting to, and then I provide additional insight behind what was going through my head when I wrote something, additional context behind any historical little tidbits I talk about, cool techniques I tried, really whatever. It's a director's commentary, you get the idea. And then I I answer questions and kind of just go in more detail about how the video was made. And sometimes, as you can see, this is a 5-hour stream talking about 2 videos, which was quite the endeavor. But I do get really into detail about these. This one was fucking 3.5 hours, although that was a game too. A lot of them I put a game with the stream, but today I don't have as much time. But today's will be a little interesting because the video I'm reacting to, since I'm 3 videos behind, on these reactions is from a while ago, over half a year ago. What is going on there? Oh, that sucks. That's weird. It is, I guess, 6 months ago. Yeah. Well, the Wacky War Tactics 3 video. I have not done the director's commentary for these past 3 videos, and I thought, before it gets to be a problem or a dead thing, let me just get on that again. So yeah. Since I moved, didn't really have time to stream. But now I'm gonna try to start doing it again a bit more. Maybe not a ton, but a bit more. So hopefully this kind of goes well. But welcome back, everyone. I hope you all enjoy the insight. I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I know what the fuck is what I'm gonna talk about. Okay. Well, I guess first things first. Usually when I do these, it's like a week after I make the video, so everything's like really fresh in my mind. In this case, it's been a hot minute. Like 6 months is when I posted it, but it was like months before that I had been working on it. So like really, it's kind of like me trying to remember from 9 months ago when I finished the rare slang video up to 6 months ago where I published this video, because it's in between those 2 dates that I had been working on this video. So it is going to be a lot of forgotten details, but also kind of like I can it'll be interesting. It'll be more like retrospective, because I can kind of like place my mindset where I was at those points in time. Like for instance, if I pull it up
when you shop
and then skip the ad, which you should never do, because I've heard that if you skip the ad on my video specifically, you get doxed. Yeah, you just get doxed, and you shouldn't skip the ad. In fact, you should click every ad multiple times and watch them fully through, never skip. I just heard that little tidbit specifically on my channel. Okay, so December. So before December, man, like what was I doing? I mean, looking at my journal, I see I was doing a lot more drawing than I had normally been doing, which yeah, I think like when I was working on this video, I kind of felt more creative than I normally do, which I think kind of translated, because now that it's been a while, I see like the performance of the video, and it was one of my better performing videos. Like I think it was when I posted it, it was one of my top performing videos of all time. And usually, like you look at my recent videos and you think to yourself, oh wow, he's not as good as he used to be, because if you scroll way the fuck back, it's like the 5 million views for some of these puppies, 3 million, 5 million, 3 million, 2 million, 3. They're a lot, but you got to keep in mind these videos have been out for years, and every video I post just steadily grows in viewership over time. Some will stand out, like I have, like the radiation science video, or the crazy projects, or the second fashion video that don't, accelerate as much as like the Wild West, which got 4 million views as of right now, but they all grow. So what I'm saying is, when I say it's like one of my best performing videos, I don't mean it has the most views. I mean, at this point in time, 6 months after release, the amount of views it has is better than all of my other videos for the most part after 6 months from release. That's how you judge performance. You compare videos at the same point in time after they were uploaded, rather than what views they're at now. So this video performed really, really well. And so I have no doubt that over time it's going to be up here in the 3s of millions, potentially 4s, 5s even, as the years go on. I make what you could call evergreen content, what a lot of people say. And basically what that means is the content you post isn't kind of like redundant or obsolete, it was the right word, after like a couple of weeks. Like people like a Philip DeFranco who makes news videos, his content's gonna be obsolete after like a week, right? Because it's news, it's not, topical. Or like a Penguins Zero whatever video, Most Critical, his videos are gonna be kind of, they're not redundant or obsolete, but people aren't really watching them after a few weeks. They're kind of topical, but my videos, I make them so that they are things you can go back to at any point in time and watch. Now, I might go back and watch some of these older videos and think, holy shit, this is ass, but that's because I think I've gotten a lot better. But in general, that's how they're made to be viewed. So it's never like I need this video to be my most viewed video now. It's more of like I need it to be performing at this point in time well. Or, you know, I don't even need it. Some videos I know aren't going to do as well, but I want to do them anyway. So this video I kind of knew would be a good one because this is the third Wacky War Tactics video. I had done my first one was like one of my earliest videos. This is the last video I posted before I really blew up, which happened with the Russian voyage video. This like video, if you looked at a chart of its views, like had like a couple thousand views up until this video blew up, and then it started taking off. So like for a full year, it was like stagnant there, right? But it was always one of the most interesting series to me because I really loved how the title sounded, Wacky War Tactics. It really rolls off the tongue well. So I really liked it. And it's just such a fun topic, you know, like war is so bleak and terrible that it's really fun to look into the stupid stuff that happens that either wasn't effective or just didn't really kind of meet your normal expectations of warfare, even if it was effective. So I've always liked this topic, and I always knew I wanted to make it a series. And so I did it again, and then this became my best performing video at the time for a long time. The second Wacky War Tactics video, which also was it wasn't controversial, but also kind of was, because this is the first video that I posted that prompted drama, but not at all. Like it's the video where DJ Peach Cobbler, this other YouTuber, he took this video and it was like a screenshot in his thumbnail and was like Blue Jay racism or something, and so like he baited you into think he was calling me racist for whatever I did in this video, and then he broke down a story that I talked about in here that sounded inaccurate, and then like kind of like made his argument as to why he didn't think it actually happened. And like the racism aspect was the fact that the source that talked about the video, and I'm talking about the Battle of Pelusium, where it was the story basically where they said the Egyptians used cats to, or not the Egyptians, the Persians used cats to make the Egyptians surrender because the cat was a holy animal for them. And he found that story to be ridiculous, and he said it came from Polyaenus, who he thinks was being racist, essentially, saying, look how dumb these Egyptians are, because it's the only source. Anyway, that was that video. Infamous because it's like my first drama, but it wasn't drama at all. He was joking and said it was like a mistake most people make. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, it had been a while. It had been 3 years, and I was like, let's make the third entry finally. I always knew I was going to do it. I have a massive document on my computer that is just all of these Wacky War Tactics stories I want to talk about. And so like I knew I would get to it at some point, but it was kind of like a win. It was like one of those ace up your sleeve video ideas that like when I need a video that's easy to do, it's a formula I know well, and I can pull it off quickly, and I know it's going to be good. Wacky War Tactics. And you know, I don't know how many more I'm going to do. I kind of feel like a trilogy is fitting, but I'm obviously not, you know, putting it off the table to do any more if I'm like really inspired to do it. But I kind of envisioned it as a trilogy because how far can I stretch the title convention? Because like the first one's called Wacky War Tactics in a Nutshell, and then Wacky War Tactics in Another Nutshell. So it's like a 2, but without 2 in the title, because I don't want people to think they have to see the first one to watch this one. And then I have Wacky War Tactics in Yet Another Nutshell. So for a fourth, it'd be, I don't know, like Wacky War Tactics in Yet Even Another Nutshell or something. I don't know what I would do, but it would be stupid like that, and it would eventually get wordy. But yeah, so for this video, I chose to use my ace up my sleeve and make this Wacky War Tactics video for December because I needed a quick video turnaround because I had this U2s that I was launching that is now sold out. You can't buy it. But I needed to have a video to go along with this announcement. My pirate U2s, because this year, 2024, was kind of like my pirate year because I had 2 pirate videos back to back, so I wanted to do a pirate U2s. I originally planned on doing 3 pirate videos, But this pirate video didn't perform that well. Relatively, I mean, 1.3 million views. I'm not complaining, but relatively, it wasn't. It didn't like land all that well, for a number of reasons. I mean, this is the video I made writing it after and while my dog died, so I wasn't in the best mind space. But anyway, I wanted to do non-pirate stuff. So instead of a pirate video, I was going to do a Wacky War Tactics video and promote a pirate U2s with that. And I wanted it to be a good video so that I got a lot of eyes on the U2s product so people could know it happened, because I've done a U2s before, and the last U2s, it ended up like, you know, selling out, and then people were upset they missed the drop dates. So I wanted to make sure a lot of people knew this happened. I promoted it heavily. I even made a exclusive short for this specific U2s, and extended the campaign by a week to make sure as many people as possible could buy it. I didn't sell all that many of them. I want to say, I can look up the sales myself, actually. I don't know if I'm like, I don't know if this is considered like exclusive into like insider intel. I don't think I'm breaking an NDA by telling you guys this. I'm not gonna check. I'll do the posture check though. Thank you for redeeming that Artex. Oh, Artex, I didn't see that was you that redeemed it. Hello, Nate Hydrate, thank you. But as I quickly look inside of this special little portal that I have to log into, I have to open up my fucking authenticator app so I can get the stupid fucking key to type in, so I can get the fucking bullshit fucking signed in, yada yada yada. Okay, I sold 691. Okay, that's not too bad. 691. But the last one I sold 1,335 for the plushie, but this one was about half that. But you know, it's not terrible, but there's not all that many out there. So if you got one, you have one of 691 Blue Jay pirate figurines. Congratulations. And I did blush. I'm still blushing. Thank you, Artex. Anyway, so back to the actual topic of the video. I will say a lot of the small details of this video have probably escaped my mind by now, but I do have notes written down in my script document specifically for director's commentaries, so I can remember to talk about the actual meat and potatoes. And no, you cannot get a Blue Jay plushie because they are not for sale anymore. But who's to say there won't be more things for sale in the future? Who knows? I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so let's get the ball rolling. First and foremost, let me unmute it. And then let me make sure, does the chat look weird like that? Do I need to put the things behind the chat so that, let me put some things behind the chat so that they don't look weird. No, not that one. This one? There we go. Let me put little black boxes behind the chat. And then, can I like move this over? What am I moving? I'm moving something on my screen. Let me just Control Z so I don't like streaming, if you can't tell. I wanna move the screen to the right a little bit so that I can like not be covering up part of the screen. Hold on. I can do this. This is easy. Window capture. That's League. Let me not capture League. Is it this? No. Close that. Is it this? Yes. Maybe. Yes. Okay. This I am going to now move maybe to the right. Aha! Good. We don't care if there's a little like black space on the left. That's good, right? That should work. I'm gonna do it like this. Now you guys can see the full screen. I'm gonna add a few more black boxes behind the chat so that it pops out just a wee bit more. Where's this? Let me duplicate that, I guess. I do it like that. Oop, that's above it. That one above it. Let me put it below it. There we go. There we go. Making progress. I'm so good at this. Okay. Normal streams, I'm looking at chat a lot. For this, to make sure I maintain my train of thought, if you can't tell, I'm not going to be looking at chat a ton until later. So, if you have questions, there's a good chance I'm not going to catch it during the actual commentary portion because I'll be yapping away. So if you like, just make sure you like send them. I might see them, and or you can make a pinned message, Nate. That'd be good. And then if you or you can just like hold it to the end because I'll do like a little Q&A. But I understand not everyone's gonna be able to sit here that long. It won't take too long. Anyway, all right. So all right, let me start with the intro. The intro is a scene, right? I have like a cinematic intro, which is kind of new to the channel at this point in time. Since then, I've done it again a couple of times. I've done it with my soda video and, or I guess with both the next two videos, I did cinematic intros, kinda. So it's kind of like a new thing at this point in time. Up before this, I did a cinematic intro for the first time, I believe, with the worst pirates you've never heard of video, where I did like that whole like pirate on the high seas intro thing. But I had a funny idea. I wanted to start the video with a story. Which is something I've done a few times, where I have a good example of a story that fits the theme of the video, but doesn't actually like warrant a full fleshed out spot, or at least I don't want it to take up like a full spot in the actual body of the video. So I kind of like stick those as an intro story. For this intro, I'm talking about the Battle of Gallipoli in World War One. Specifically the retreat of the Battle of Gallipoli, which is famous for utilizing a device called the drip rifle, which I'm going to talk about. I don't need to like tell you all about it. You're going to fucking see it. But so I did like a little fun cinematic intro. I put a ton of work into this background. If you can't tell, this background is actually an ultra wide background. You don't ever see the full thing, but it extends this far to the left. This is as far as you see. You see up more than this, but you see this far to the left and then really far to the right. But even in this entire video, you don't actually see the entire background because I don't end up using all of it. But I painstakingly put in time drawing this. I experimented with new texturing. As you can see, like normally I do pretty smooth solid lines for things and like some lines for texture, like the scratches on this guy's face, but for backgrounds I haven't really done much more texturing than that. But for this one, as you can see, like the like rocky kind of like outcropping here, I have lines that I'm experimenting with different pressure sizes to kind of give that rocky vibe, and like different shades to kind of like let you know it's kind of like coming out and in. And then I'm using a technique where I have areas that your eyes are drawn to of hyper detail, which is this area right here. Basically, in this area, I am doing a lot of texture and a lot of detail, a lot of highlighting to make basically like give you an idea of what the texture is going to be. And then what you do as an artist is you have these areas of high detail, and then you kind of like melt out to less detail so that your brain fills in the details, right? Thank you for the hydrates, gentlemen or ladies in the plush check. Basically that's to save you time, but also not to make the image too busy. So if I were to like, you see the detail here, I have like black lines showing the texture going down. I show how this rock comes out to a point, and you can tell by the slanted lines here that it's like sticking up a little bit and then coming down. If I were to maintain this level of detail throughout this image, you're going to be kind of like looking everywhere because you won't know where to look. Everything will be equally detailed. So what you do is you have, you know, like the actual focus is this guy here laying on the ground, which is most bold, most prominent. No line in the shot is as thick as this guy's. Nothing is as thick as this man right here in this shot. No, his lines are the most bold. So your eyes are drawn here, but then to look at the atmosphere, your eyes are drawn to the next area of high detail, which, you know, could be the blood here, but then you kind of like work up to this guy dead up here, to then now you can see the environment that he's in. He's kind of like on this like rocky grassland type area. It looks deserty, it looks arid, it looks kind of like coastal with the cliff face here a little bit. So it's and then your eyes, you know, like melt out. Your brain fills in the details over here. And you can say the same. A good example here is on this little rock wall. You have like detailed rocks here, and then they kind of like are just lines on the background, and then it's just like a few zigzaggy lines over here. So it's to save me time, and it's also to not give you guys a headache with detail overload, because this isn't like a painting to look at in a museum for an hour. It's a video. So yeah, I was happy with this background. I did things I never usually do. Like I have colors here blending without a line to separate them. Like I usually have black lines for a lot of things, which you don't see often in backgrounds, but I like to do. And yeah, so I did a lot of detail in this background. And a big reason why I normally do that is because I want it to be the thumbnail. As you can see, it's not the thumbnail. What the fuck? What is this basic bitch ass thumbnail? Well, I did a thumbnail test because YouTube has an A/B thumbnail tester where you can basically have multiple thumbnails set for the same video. It shows different ones to different people at random, and then whichever has the best click-through rate ends up being selected as the overall thumbnail for the video. And this video didn't win. I mean, they're all like really, really close, but this thumbnail won. And it comes down to what YouTube is actually trying to get people to do, which is very, you know, contrasty, clickable, Mr. Beast fuckface thumbnails. And I'm not a big fan of, I'm not going to ever Mr. Beastify my thumbnails, but I understand that you want good, bright colors in your thumbnail to attract the eyes, and this doesn't have that. It's cool. I like it way better than the thumbnail background in the current thumbnail, but it doesn't do that. Anyway, we are, like half an hour into the video and haven't pressed play yet. That's pretty typical for these. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey there, champ. How's it going? Not great. We're in an active war zone, if you couldn't tell. Tell me about it. These Uber delivery fees are basically war crimes, and I would know. Say, do you guys have Qdoba yet? Oh, I don't have time for this. I gotta get out of here before the Australians finish me off. What are you talking about? There's no one over there. What? Then who shot me? Oh, that? That would be a can of piss. What? It's late 1915. World War I is ramping up intensity, and Anzac forces are not feeling the whole great part of the Great War. 80,000 of them are cornered in Gallipoli, the Ottomans ready to finish them officially, and their only hope to survive was to evacuate expeditiously. But there was one glaring issue with the retreat. If the Ottomans were to notice, it was predicted they would send up to 30,000 men from the land down under to the land down 6 feet under. So they came up with a nifty plan to pull off this miracle evacuation. What if they retreated by not doing so, or more specifically, convince the Ottomans that they were still having a grand old time playing in their trenches, all whilst actually scurrying to their comfy metal floats. To help pull off this ghost army masquerade was the wondrous drip rifle. Not that kind. Essentially working from home, but without the Clash of Clans in your underwear part, a drip rifle was a gun that was rigged with a delayed firing mechanism consisting of 2 cans and a bit of string. The top can would be filled with water and slowly drip into the bottom one until Isaac Newton took the wheel and pulled the trigger with a nerd magic of gravity. However, given the fact that fresh water was rather scarce for Anzacs in Gallipoli, there's a non-zero chance that some of these cans were given the old golden shower treatment to operate, making it undoubtedly some of the finest work ever graced by Australian hands, other than yours truly. Therefore, after the rear guard set up a bunch of these with dummies and smoked a platoon's worth of cigarettes each to make the trenches appear full of men, or trains, they were able to safely evacuate with remote gunfire masking their withdrawal from the Ottomans, who were none the wiser. But anyway, that is a Tarantino amount of blood behind you, so one could say you're in for a bad time. Today we're learning about Wacky War Tactics, yet again. Alright, yay, so that, I like that intro a lot, because I get to tell a whole story in just 2 minutes with a lot of jokes to really hook people in and a lot of whimsy. Man, I forgot how much, this is a good intro. I should consider this something. I should take notes from this for my next video, because I'm working on refining an intro I have right now. Thank you for the hydrates, gentlemen. Jesus Christ, I need to talk too, you know. Okay, so a few things with this intro. One, if you've been in these before, you know, I kind of like. So I have pillars. Basically, I have creative pillars to the, like, what makes a Blue Jay video a Blue Jay video. And I have 6 of these, and I have them up on my little bulletin board right here so I don't forget. Basically, it's like tenets that you want to live by when you're working on a video to make it it's like basically what is the thumbprint of my identity, right? So one of my pillars is I call lore. And basically, I have written a Blue Jay video contains extended lore, expanding upon the world and developing the characters. And so, for every single video, in some way, shape, or form, I want to address the lore, right? I want to expand upon it. I want to develop it. I want to add more context to it, or something. It doesn't have to be huge. It could just be something small. This video is pretty small overall because I'm not like taking a guy and showing him around. But what I do in this video is I show Blue Jay in Gallipoli, like he's there, and you're just like, oh, he's interacting with soldiers in 1915 Gallipoli, which isn't something that you really have seen in a Blue Jay video. He doesn't really interact with characters that are historical, because I've talked about this before in other directors' commentaries where I have the there's like different kind of like worlds. There's like the historical world, and that's usually like characters like this that they're drawn and their whole role is to play a historical character. And then there's the explanatory world where characters like Alex and Timmy kind of inhabit, where they are explanation tools. They can be in the historical world, but they usually are people that interact with Blue Jay, people that are on like the overworld, I guess you could say, and are there to be interacted with while I am doing the explaining. But a character like this, or a character like, a president or a historical figure, well, you'll just see them as characters that are being explained. So usually the historical world doesn't interact with Blue Jay, not usually, but that doesn't mean it can't happen, because Blue Jay is developing as this like godlike entity, this omnipotent bird god thing. You don't really quite know what he is, but we're learning here that he can kind of be in all times and places with things that don't fit in those times and places, like an iPhone where he's looking at Uber Eats and drinking boba, and you're just like, what the fuck? And he's interacting with people that are in a World War I battle. So it's kind of expanding upon his presence in the world and kind of like what he can and cannot do, and kind of like maybe the fact that he is growing more powerful or something, or maybe he's just showing what he can do more. I don't know. Who knows? You tell me. But yeah, so that's kind of like me trying to like fulfill the lore checklist item in this video. And then I go on into like explaining the video with a lot of like whimsy and jokes. And there were like a few things in here I wanted to like kind of like touch on a little bit. So the drip rifle itself, there were some parts of this that I kind of like wanted to like put an asterisk on. So for example, there are a few times when researching the story that I saw that water was scarce for Anzacs in Gallipoli, and then some people expand upon that by saying that some cans for these drip rifles the soldiers had to pee in so that they could like actually drip and operate. Now, I can't find any sources that explicitly confirm that. I find a lot of reasonable explanation or speculation that could say that that was the case, and that's why I kind of like chose my words carefully. I said that look at my script. I said that oh, what was that? Thank you for the sub, Salty Joe. Thank you. I said that there's a non-zero chance that some of these cans are given the old golden shower treatment to operate. I'm not saying it for sure happened. I'm saying there's a solid chance that it could have happened. But it's also been reported that there weren't like a ton of these. These drip rifles weren't like by the thousand. So like it is also reasonable that if you're retreating and you're by an ocean, you probably can get enough water to pour in a couple, like dozen of these, or however many they actually set up. Because there weren't all that many people that were left behind to do this part of the retreat where they set up these drip rifles. So, and there's also a lot of speculation as to how effective this was, and like whether or not the Ottomans knew this was happening. Some people think that the Ottomans did know that these weren't actual rifles, or they weren't tricked into thinking that the Anzacs were still in the trenches with these drip rifles. But and people will argue that point pretty adamantly, I found. And those people are also people that I often think of as buzzkills when it comes to history, who are like, they don't really have evidence for their claim other than it just like seems more plausible. Like they're like, oh, come on, that sounds too good to be true. But where's your joy in life, man? Like, come on, there's a chance that they were tricked and they didn't advance. Sure, they probably wouldn't have advanced even if they saw them retreating, but you know, we don't have any evidence saying they did know the drip rifles were fake. I think there's like some sparse speculation. Anyway, so it should be noted that there is a chance that the Ottomans were not actually that duped by this drip rifle. However, it is celebrated as a device that successfully saved thousands of lives, potentially. And I think that deserves recognition and respect. And I think that when it comes to history, a lot of history relies on belief to an extent, and it's a lot more fun when you believe things because then you can take away more from them. Anyway, so that was the story of Gallipoli. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this video, so where was it? Where I say other than yours truly, and then I show water was rather shout other than yours truly. All right, so I say other than yours truly, and leading up to this, I say making it undoubtedly some of the finest work ever graced by Australian hands, other than yours truly. And this picture is Robert Irwin, very famous son of Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, who continues his father's work and basically is an animal handler and a guy that lovingly looks after and teaches people about animals and like works at zoos and posts content online and does what his dad did, right? And I'm saying that this drip rifle is some of the finest work ever touched by Australian hands, other than me being literally touched by Australian hands, because I met him in Singapore and asked him, oh my god, the whole story was kind of embarrassing because basically I ran into him in Singapore. I ran into Robert Irwin in Singapore. And then I saw him inside the dome where what's it called? The Gardens by the Bay Dome, which is like this really beautiful place in Singapore that is on this like little artificial bit of land. They you know, it's like the famous pictures that you've probably seen with like all these like artificial flower things. We were in the Cloud's Eye or something. It's like this indoor sort of greenhouse area that has a big walking path with greenery, waterfalls, views. It's beautiful. I met him literally right here. That's where the picture is taken, like where this guy is standing. And then I went up to him and I was like, hey, so this is gonna sound really weird. I have this like online persona of this blue jay, and I was curious if you could take a picture holding this blue jay here that I use for my persona. And he was like, right, mate, sure. And he's like, there he is, and like holds him up. And he's like smiling, and I took like 3 pictures, and I was like, thank you so much, man. He's like, yeah, no problem, and walks away. And it was him, it was his sister Biddy Irwin and his mom, Steve Irwin's wife. They were like on a little vacation to Singapore because Australia is close to Singapore. And walking away, I was like, man, does he think I'm like a furry? Because I'm like, my online persona is a blue jay. I didn't say like I'm a YouTuber and I'm a blue jay, that's my thing, and I make videos I didn't explain it because it's like, this guy is, you know, he's with his family. I don't want to like take up his time yapping his ear off. I just want to take a picture of the bird. So I explained it in a way where I came away being like, oh fuck, dude, what? I just said my online persona. It's like, oh, that dude has like a little Discord account where he pretends to be a blue jay. That's fucking weird. That's probably the impression he got. So every time I posted this picture on any social media, I'm adding him, hoping just by some chance that he clicks on this post and sees, oh, he meant he's a YouTuber, not he's some weirdo with some like weird blue jay thing on Roblox. And I really hope that didn't come across like that, because man, oh, that'd be embarrassing. Anyway, a lot of people saw this and thought I was Robert Irwin for some reason, because I said other than yours truly when this picture pops up, and they're like, oh my god, blue jay face reveal, what the fuck, he's so hot. And I'm like, no, That's not me. Please don't think that's me, because if you ever meet me, I'm not gonna look like this. I'm not ripped like Robert Irwin. I'm oh man. It's it was weird. I had a lot of people thinking this was my face reveal. This is not me. This is famous animal caretaker and educator Robert Irwin. Please don't think this is me. Dear Lord. Anyway, that's my little story about meeting Robert Irwin. Very, very kind guy. I'm not one to take pictures with celebrities, but I was like recording in this place and taking pictures for social media, and he came along and I was like, yo, take a picture, please. It'd be sick. Anyway. All right. I think that's kind of like what I had for the intro. Let's keep going. Wacky War Tactics, yet again. Thank you for the $5 donation. Fuck the 49ers.
Step into Wix Studio, the platform for agencies.
Shut up. But yeah, you all should totally click ads you see. Every time, just click the ad. And get YouTube Premium. Whoops. I missed what I said there because I had it muted. There we go. I watch you while you sleep. Or at least I could be with the new limited edition RedJay figure. I just couldn't get my fix of breaking and entering last time, so I barged back into the U2's lab to cook up this dashing little scallywag. Complete with a tricorn hat, bandana, and cannon, I loved
this
recording
vinyl
this.
figure is perfect.
You can see a little hand reveal in this reflection. I was really nervous checking all the reflections while I was recording this to make sure I'm not like showing my stupid face, like mouth slack-jawed, like looking at my phone while I'm recording or taking pictures. But yeah, I just like took a picture, rotated my little coaster here, took a picture, rotated it to make a little 3D rotation thing, which I thought was really cute. For all your whimsical pirate needs, and definitely does not contain a radio transmitter. It took a few prototypes to get right, finding the right orphan meat is hard after all, but nevertheless, we were able to come up with a stunning swashbuckling RedJay to honor the channel's pirate phase earlier this year. I thought it was really funny that YouTube's approved of, like they approved, I don't know if they did. I think they just let me post it. Oh wait, hold on. Am I allowed to start finding people for a RedJay Religionless Militia? 100%. You're always able to do that. Sorry, I didn't read the message. But thank you, Jax, for the donation. I really appreciate that. So basically, I was surprised that I got away with saying like finding the right orphan meat is hard at all when talking about a product launch. They're okay with me insinuating there is orphan meat involved in the creation of this RedJay vinyl figure. And you know what? That's really based of them to let me get away with saying shit like that. U2's gave me complete creative input over not only the design of the figure, but the box design itself, meaning every crack, crevice, and vaguely threatening language was strategically crafted by yours truly. I was so happy with how this turned out, and if you got one, I hope you really like it. The whole box art and everything looks so cool. This is also the first official thing drawn by someone not me, like RedJay cartoon wise, not my bird included, which Cass draws. So I've never given anyone else power to draw my characters or my cartooniness, and they did, and like they drew my characters in like the exact, like copying all the details in which I drew them. Like this is how I drew my pirates. I had pirates that looked like this. They literally looked at my video and they took the outfits, the belts, the weapons, and all that, and copied it down to the detail of the collar. And I was so happy with how it came out. The whole box art looks awesome. The inside has a little map, as you could see, and like there's like the little pirate explosion graphic, and
the
there's
box
like
design itself, meaning every crack, crevice, and
you know, like all these little like maps, like this is like a pirate journey through the Caribbean with a little treasure map, and like all like the text coming soon to a theater near you is what I have in like all my bios and stuff. Like from the get-go, I've had coming soon to a theater near you is like always been my bio. And so it's just fun that I got to have all of that on a piece of product. Man, I really loved how
vaguely
this came
threatening
out.
language was strategically crafted by yours truly. I didn't think they'd let me say this.
Yeah, like they didn't adjust anything. This was like First take, I sent them the text that I wanted included in the box. Serving whimsical lessons with a dash of trauma was one of them. And they're like, yeah, I'm okay with you saying that this gives you trauma on our official merchandise. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. I didn't think they'd let me do it.
Those wonderful U2 servants really went all out with this one.
These are the people that designed it. It's on the bottom of the box if you want to like look at, like, give them proper credit. Like they actually drew everything. I basically did like a multi-page document writing what I wanted it to look like, and then first take they gave me the design of the box, and I'm like, this is perfect. I couldn't have thought of it better. You followed my instructions perfectly. It looks good. The bird looks good. The actual figure itself took a while to get right because the first few takes, like the texture of the bird was like a really weird bumpiness to it that like looked like it had warts and stuff. And so it took a long time to get the right texture and to make it look good. But it came out looking perfect. Like the feather and the hat, the bandana is like exactly how it looked in the first pirate video. And it just came out looking so good. What was that notification? Oh my gosh! Jax, thank you so much for the $50 donation. Jeez. Hail the Godbird. The God is pleased with your with your penance. Thank you so much for your sacrifice. Wow, that's so kind, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You make the channel possible. Thank you so much. If you didn't see recently, I announced I do this full time now, so that really helps out. Thank you. And thank you for the hydrate Sai and the posture check and the hydrate Leah Maramsa. Nailed it. And welcome. I see you're new to my channel. Anyway, back to the video.
And it's honestly the second coolest thing I've ever received after your mom's number, but it's only available for a limited time, so if you want to complete your BlueJay U2's jar collection or send me even more videos of you torturing my merchandise.
That's a real video that a fan of mine, Duck, is the name he goes by. He sent like a bunch of these videos of him torturing my BlueJay plushie. Because I made jokes about torturing it in the first ad for it. And man, this was my way of like honoring his sacrifice and commitment to the bit. I put him in a video. And then this was like a picture I had from the first video where a friend, he photoshopped my BlueJay in a jar. And so I did this one in a jar now. You can continue your jar collection.
Click the link in the description to snag yours before it's gone forever. And now, back to the video. Now, in my last installment, I talked about how the Persians defeated Egypt at Pelusium by using cats, a story with shaky reliability that others rightfully called me out on. That thumbnail was a joke, by the way.
That's what I was talking about earlier. This video, I'm making a joke about how I covered the story that it was really old, really ancient, shaky reliability, and then I lead into another story just like that. But yeah.
He called me out on. That thumbnail was a joke, by the way. Since then, I've redoubled my efforts into verifying the accuracy of stories and disclosing when their reliability can't be fully determined.
Again.
Ancient history is always a blurry topic after all, and while this first story takes place around the same time as the Battle of Pelusium, the tale of cat warfare was first reported 700 years after the fact and only comes from a single source.
This was kind of like my way of addressing the like shaky accuracy of that video, because I didn't want to like make a video that was like kind of like drama related, you know, where I like, it's not drama, but I didn't want to like make a video where I sit down and like address the potential errors of that video, because I don't know, that's just not really like my channel's brand. So I'm like, here's a good way of addressing it in a video without making that the focus of the whole video, to add kind of like accountability and context and owning up to a potential mistake that I made, which was most likely a mistake.
Today's story has two. Ancient China, the spring and autumn period, also known as history's first battle royale, with something like 1 to 200 states vying for power, including the Qi, or the fancy Qi, or the letter E.
Basically, during the spring and autumn period, there were so many of these very, very tiny states and dynasties and things that changed all the time, and finding like an accurate list of all of the various countries and states that existed during this spring and autumn period was like damn near impossible. This is one map I found, which comparing it to other things I've seen, is as accurate as I think I can get with a map, and without making my own map, which would have taken way too much time. But like, yeah, it's just like covering like how it really came off to me like a battle royale. Like, this is before the like, what is it called, the warring state period or something like that comes after this, where it all kind of comes down to a couple big states, or like the Qi I think expands and becomes like a lot of the territory. But like right now it's kind of like who's gonna become the big dog, and it like power shifts in focus a ton. And also I poked fun of the fact that at least in English they all sound very simple, and like they're battling for who can have the simplest name. Like one state's literally just E in English, at least. I don't know what it is in Chinese. I will answer more questions at the end of the video, yes.
When they weren't competing for a name that sounded the most like a Pokemon with brain damage, they spent their time kickstarting many major philosophies, such as Confucianism to guide people on morality, or Taoism to guide hippies on their first tattoos. But above all, these Chinese states enjoyed their art, like war. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is potentially written during this period, a military text made famous for its revolutionary
I really like that transition from holding art to a spear without moving at all.
tactical advice like give your soldiers food and think before you move. This priceless knowledge was studied by Helu, the king of Wu, who utilized.
I also really love all the drawings for these ancient Chinese characters, because if you like look at their art, I mean, there's not a ton to go off of. I had to do a lot of like guessing and like looking at the costumes used in TV shows produced in China that were about this time period to see like what they might have been dressed like. And then I kind of copied that, hoping they did their research better than I could have. But like stuff like this thing on his head, like that was from one of these like old portraits that I saw. And I think of this guy specifically, or if there was one, I don't know if there was one, because a lot of these characters, you know, they're really obscure footnotes in like one document by it's what's it called, I think it was either the Zozahan or probably the Shiji is where I got the like these stories from. Well, this story specifically was in both the Zozahan and the Shiji, which is selections from the records of the historian. Basically, one of the like most notable historical documents in like ancient Chinese history. There's this one guy, his name, let me just make sure, I'm gonna like look it up to make sure I'm not like butchering things. So the Shiji specifically is, oh yeah, Sima Quan, I don't know, I might be butchering the pronunciation of his name. He's basically one of the earliest, most prominent historians of ancient Chinese history, and his work, the Shiji, or the records of the Grand Historian, depending on like who, like the translation, is very, very important. It's kind of like one of the most important documents of ancient Chinese history, because it is like one of the only sources for a lot of these time periods that are super old. And so it's not like an inaccurate source. A lot of people think that it is a very trusted, very good source. They've been able to verify it as best they can with a lot of his stories. But of course, there are inaccuracies and things that don't match up with other accounts or points in history that we can pinpoint as historians. And so it's a really good source from my research. It's not a perfect source, but it's really good. And then there's also, for this source specifically, the Zuo Zuhan, I think it's pronounced. I don't really know. It's spelled Zuo Zuhan or something like that. I'm sure I'm completely butchering that. This is or the spring and autumn annals. Ugh. Man, there's a lot of pronunciations that I'm messing up today. Is also another historical document. And it also had this story accounted in it that I'm about to talk about. Anyway, Um, this was actually really fun to study because a lot of these documents don't have complete English translations. Like the Shiji, either that or the Zuo Suhan or both, I can't remember which one when I was researching this, doesn't have a full English translation. And so for passages that I was trying to verify in one of them, I actually had to get help from one of my best friend's dad, who was born and raised in China, who helped me translate as best I could this ancient Chinese script from a Chinese version of this document. And he was like, "This is really formal Chinese. What are you researching?" And I had to explain it to him. And I think I thanked him in the description of the video. I think I mentioned him somewhere, maybe. I don't know. I thought I did. Anyway, Kevin's dad, thank you so much for your help. You really helped me out with this one. I might have talked about it, I don't know. Anyway. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, whenever I do a story that is user suggested, like a video that was suggested by a user, I credit you guys in the description. So for some of these stories, like Commander Thorn in my disco, and Mako wanted me to talk about Gallipoli, so credits to them. And then also Patrick Bird 27 wanted me to talk about the nuclear landmine story that's coming up.
It, along with the legendary man himself, to squad up and wage wars, crinking 90s on his neighbors, trying to clutch that dub. And the next stop on his way to a victory royale was his demure neighbor down south. I did it. But at what cost? Upon hearing of the death of its leader, Helu seized the opportunity to wage war on the state of Yue as it was transitioning to its new king, Goizhan. So with their crosshairs set, the state of Wu prepared for their invasion. Alright boys, before we go, let's just check our little manual here. Food. Make sure to bring food, guys. Genius. Of course. I love swallowing objects. And it looks like we need something called fire. Fire? What that? Oh, it like air, but when angry. Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean bad touch. Excellent. And we also need candy for every soldier. Wait, this ink is fresh. Who wrote this? Maybe it's a new update. While being invaded by the local superpower.
It's so dumb. I forgot about the skits in this video. I had so much fun writing this. I love just silly humor like that. I need to do more of that. I feel like I didn't in my last video all that much, but I always love that kind of like archetype of skit that I've done quite a few times where it's like just people being stupid and like a guy reading something to a crowd. I've done that a lot in my like pirate video. I had skits like that. And it's always a fun time because I just love stupid banter like that and just pretending to do all the banter myself.
With a military influenced by one of the most legendary generals of all time was a less than ideal.
I forgot to say. So I did have a big note for this. So I mentioned earlier on my script, I have notes for what to talk about in the director's commentary. So that video or that skit, and also before, was kind of like poking fun at the art of war and its simplicity. And so while I make fun of it, and it's something that a lot of people like to make fun of because like the art of war has things that sound really simplistic. But it was truly, even with the simplicity, it was a revolutionary work and essentially was like the Warfare 101 guide for kingdoms and rulers so early on before there was really any precedent written down for how to do this thing called war. Like war was kind of a new novel concept relatively in the BCs. Like you had fighting, right? You had people killing each other and you had skirmishes and stuff, but like actual war, like thousands of people fighting thousands of people until people were dead, is kind of new. Like that's not a thing people really did or had the capacity to do with populations being smaller. I mean, relatively, like, you know, you've had wars in the thousands of BCs in other areas, but at least in this area, or even in history in general, it was still kind of like a new thing. And so basically it was the guide for rulers and kingdoms to make sure they don't overlook the basic necessities, because since it was a novel concept that people didn't really have a good understanding of, it could be easy to not think of things like a supply line that would be important. So like stuff like, you know, bring food and have logistical networks might seem basic and obvious to you and me today, but even like we even see rulers struggle with stuff like that today. Like just look at Russia's invasion of Ukraine, for example. It's hard to like balance jokes with accurate historical commentary a lot of the time. So sometimes you have to trust the audience to see that the joke is sarcastic and it's a sarcastic commentary rather than me literally shitting on one of the most universally acclaimed pieces of philosophy out there, The Art of War. And I think to a lot of people that comes through. Like, I'm being sarcastic, I'm poking fun. I'm not actually thinking and saying The Art of War is a shitty document. Like, it's not. There's a reason people still read it and still buy it. It has universal truths and philosophies that are valuable, and historically relevant and good to study and to learn from. So, but you know, it's the internet. People aren't really good with subtext anymore and are getting increasingly worse with it. So I want to make sure I kind of like pointed it out that I don't actually think The Art of War is terrible. And like, speaking of not understanding subtext, I have a lot to say about that in videos coming up. But anyway, it is crucial to know. And yeah, RedJay makes satirical jokes. See, I understood that as sarcasm, but a lot of people wouldn't, Andy. A lot of people don't know you're being sarcastic. Just know that. You have to put -s like Reddit. They have to know. Anyway.
Ideal way to celebrate a new promotion, Goijan was nonetheless determined to resist. But fighting such a renowned military required some cunning, it required some wit, it required a cutthroat mentality.
This is when I say cunning, like I show, you know, Sherlock from Sherlock, the show Sherlock, and then when I say wit, I show the character Wit, fan art of the character Wit from a book series called the Stormlight Archive, which is my favorite book series, or at least one of them. And I was kind of scared showing him because I love Wit, the character Wit. He's a character that appears in, I think, almost every single Brandon Sanderson book with a different name, but it's the same character. And he's a really fun character, and I wanted to show him here. But when I posted this video, the 5th book came out. I've only read the first 4, and I was kind of worried. Oh, excuse me. Because I posted this, and the 5th book is like the conclusion to the first arc of the Stormlight Archive, which is planned to be 10 books. And so I was like, man, I hope I don't get spoilers in the comments. So I'm like, I'm gonna make this joke, I'm gonna show Wit, but I really hope people aren't gonna be like, oh, remember when Wit kills everyone or something crazy? And I'm like, what? So I was like scared, but no one did, because people are usually pretty chill. Anyway, yeah.
Wait, that's it! Taking my advice a bit too literally, in one battle, Goijan, quote, sent 3 waves of convicted criminals toward the Wu front lines, where, with a great shout, they proceeded to cut their own throats. Now, different sources claim that they were actually soldiers willing to die instead of criminals, but either way, the goal here, other than giving me content, was to leave the Wu forces stupefied and intimidated. However, I can see this plan easily backfiring. Holy shit, sir! I don't think I could fight them. This is insane.
Hold on, Corporal. Just hold on. What's a corporal?
Oh my god, that's insane!
Haha, that it is!
Could you imagine how scary it would be if they did that again?
That's right. We're demented. B Squadron, show 'em!
Oh, the humanity! What eldritch horrors awaits if these demons were to descend upon us?
Horror indeed!
I just might surrender if they did that yet again!
Right! Fuck. Squadron C, show these men before the eyes of our gods what we're capable of!
Sweet heavens! My men are truly cowering in fear!
As they should!
Now, if they were to show us yet another time...
I love that skit so much. Oh man. Okay, so I've talked about this a lot in videos, but basically a lot of videos start with me reading about something and then thinking of one really funny skit and then building an entire video out of one skit or one joke. So way back when I started this channel, I had read about this story, like when I was researching my first Wacky War Tactics video. Even before that, like when I was like first researching videos in general to do on this channel, I came across this story, and it has been like one of the first 3 things on my like 20-page plus idea document for years now. Like it's been 5 years plus or whatever that I have had that idea, and I've never covered this story about soldiers cutting their throats in battle from in this like battle against the Wu. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm going to finally use this story and talk about it in this Wacky War Tactics video. And back when I had this idea, when I wrote down this topic, this was the skit that I had in mind. So I've had the idea of this skit since like 2019, 2020. I have thought about this joke, and I finally got to flesh it out, change it a bit, and make it into something that actually happened in a Blue Jay video. And it's crazy. This is probably like this is definitely like the longest idea to come to fruition on my channel to date, and still. And I'm just really happy that I was finally able to do it and get this topic out, because I mean, I was hesitant because there's a lot of questioning of the historical accuracy, but then I finally did a research deep dive and found enough plausibility to say that some version of the story existed. Because the pop culture story that you most hear when you are reading about King Goizhan is that he had soldiers behead themselves, not like cut their throat. Like the story is soldiers walked up and cut off their own heads somehow. They completely beheaded themselves, which caused the enemies to then be terrified and surrender. Because they're like, holy shit, these guys are insane. And then obviously that's not a true story, because how can you even fully behead yourself? How can you also get someone to fully behead themselves for the cause? That's pretty crazy. But then you research into it more and you find that there are more plausible explanations, and like the more actual story written down is more along the lines of something like soldiers or people that were sentenced to death and who didn't want their families to die as a consequence decided to take their own lives in a way that served what could be a good outcome in a religious afterlife, or whatever their motivations might be. So it's more likely, if this were to happen, it would have been like prisoners, probably, maybe soldiers willing to die, depending on the translation, that probably just cut themselves on the neck and bled out and died. But still, it would look pretty gnarly to just see these guys walk up with swords and cut their own throats. And then you might wonder, okay, well, why didn't they just kind of like run away or fight back with these swords? Well, that's where the whole, probably their families would be at risk of death, and they wouldn't want to subject their families to death, and like bad outcomes. But you know, like there's a lot of people when they're like sentenced to death or going to die, like you'll see not act in like their complete survival instincts. Like people, like there are plenty of instances where people are led out, like they know they're about to be executed, they're about to be shot as like prisoners of war, and they walk out and they get on their knees and they die, because like you just can't put yourself in the mind of someone that is sentenced to death or someone who is going to die. None of us can actually understand what's going to go through your head in that point in time. So it's very clear from what we've seen in just like modern history, people do have a point where they just kind of give up when things are so hopeless like that. So it's not all that implausible to me that people could be convinced or forced to kill themselves in the front lines of a battle. Sure, it's pretty out there, I would say, but it's not out of the question in my mind. And then like I address a lot of that later on in this story, but like also like people are like, well, why wouldn't they just run to the other side and join the enemy? And yeah, I mean they could have, and maybe that would have worked out for them. But again, like there's a whole like their family and people back in their hometown, and then there's like also a certain amount of reverence for the afterlife that people around this time had that we don't have, or not as much, at least I would say, as a culture today. And stuff like that, you know, could be like pretty nasty consequences for them. Anyway, so yeah, this topic was something that I just hadn't covered for a while because like the historical accuracy aspect, but then I finally did the research, deep dived into ancient Chinese text and got it translated, and found, you know what, there's enough here for me to say this is something I could talk about with a disclosure, which I get to.
That's right, we're demented.
Oh, the upon us.
Oh, and then the voice acting with like the screaming of people dying viscerally. Yeah, I recorded that for like 15 plus minutes in my apartment, fully knowing people were outside, like in other apartments or in the hallway or just outside in general, hearing me screaming viscerally, pretending like I was standing up with like my hand to my neck, pretending like I was cutting my throat and falling onto the ground like dozens of times to get a whole army's worth, like 4 times doing it for the bit. It was fun. It was fun.
Right. Fuck. Squadron.
The Art of War didn't cover what to do if the
Yeah.
show us yet
There we go.
another time, but unfortunately for them, the Art of War didn't cover what to do if the enemy soldiers fucking killed themselves. So when the UA forces launched a surprise attack from another direction, the stunned soldiers were promptly defeated. As with all ancient history, a certain amount of faith is required when learning about its stories. However, I'm more inclined to believe this tale, as its sources are often considered some of the most trustworthy in ancient history, and the tale is recounted by Sinology experts today.
So this is me really, like I said, trying to cover my bases, like my disclosure, and also like, hey, YouTubers like DJ Peach Cobbler, let's try not to make a video calling me racist here, yeah? Let's see, like, you know, there are a lot of people out there that add credence to this story and talk about it and say that it probably happened, and here are my arguments as to why I think there's a solid chance this could have happened.
Cutting one's throat was a rather common way to commit suicide after all, and because death was viewed quite differently around this time, the soldiers may have believed their sacrifice would be rewarded in the afterlife. And if they had been criminals, some theorized their families may have been threatened to ensure their compliance. And you know, not like run over to the other side. I spent a lot of time tracking down, verifying, and independently translating various sources. Shout out to Kevin's dad.
Oh yeah, that's right, I talked about it in the video. Shout out to Kevin's dad, yes.
So if any YouTubers are looking to make some content, I hope they are satisfied with this disclosure. That was a joke, by the way.
Okay, and on what I said earlier about sarcasm and people not being good with it, I hope you all are watching this and are like, okay, he's sarcastically like calling out the YouTubers like, hey, don't make a video if you're looking to. But there were so many people in the fucking comments of this video, so many fucking dumbasses that are like, wow, I can't, like, fuck DJ Peach Cobbler, or like, I can't believe you're so mad at DJ Peach Cobbler. Like, no, that's a joke. The joke is that I'm playing on to the joke. I'm playing on to this bit. It's a bit. I'm not actually mad. I was not mad at this. This is a good video that he made. This Blue Jay Was Wrong video. It's a very good video. I really liked it. Again, it's the internet. People are so bad with subtext. It just goes completely over their heads. Or just any kind of nuance. You have to be so literal. Cannot be sarcastic. Because people do not understand sarcasm on the internet anymore. This is sarcasm. This is sarcasm. And like me like defending myself about the racism, like, that was a joke, guys, I'm not racist. That was a joke, by the way. People do not understand what I am saying there and think I'm actually mad at him with my tone of voice. And I cannot fathom how you hear my sarcastic tone being like, so if any YouTubers are looking to make some content, and think, holy shit, he's mad. How are you that oblivious? I'm joking. I am joking.
As for the defeated King Helu, he was mortally wounded in the Battle of the Deep Throat. Cuts, but lived long enough to tell his son and soon-to-be king to never forget about Yue, and so, holding his dying father's hand, his son made a vow. He was never gonna give Yue up, never gonna let Yue down.
Little Rickroll.
The best way to turn mealtime into playtime? It's always been Tyson Mega Dynamite.
Jumping forward 100 years, we have the Persian Empire at the top of their game. They've been balling around the peasants of the Fertile Crescent and are now the largest empire by any assessment. With the recovery of Egypt, an economy full of riches, the future was looking bright for little old Persia's business. You know, so long as a Greek boy with a city naming habit doesn't come along. It's 334 BC, and the Persian Empire is being invaded by a man so legendary, so monumental, that his world-altering conquest and exploits would forever land him with the name Alexander the Great. That is, unless you subscribe to my theory. Yeah, I don't know, he's weirdly close with that cavalry commander. Probably not the only saddle he's riding. Call me crazy, but I just don't think Alexander is straight. What was that? Duh, I was just saying that Alexander is great. What's going on over here, babe? Alex? Ah, Hephaestion. Finished getting that city named after me? Which one? Alexandria? Alexandria? Or Alexandria? Alexandria. Oh, yes, paperwork's been submitted. Excellent. Oh, hey, Alexander the Great. Make sure to write that one down. A few
I love those skits so much. This whole section, the Alexander the Great part of the video, is probably where I felt most in the groove with my writing. It's so tight. Like, all of it's, I think, in my opinion, well written for me, and a lot of good jokes, a lot of good skits. It's all silly, it's all lighthearted, and I really like this bit here, and like the whole like them Alexander the Great was actually people saying, I don't think Alexander is straight. And they're like, oh, I meant you're great. Alexander the Great, not straight. Like, because like there's a common like theory out there that one of his closest friends and cavalry commander, Hephaestion, that Alexander may have had a homosexual relationship with him. Because a lot of the like people's arguments is that he had cried a lot when Hephaestion died. He was heartbroken. And people thought he was more in love with Hephaestion than his actual wife and everything. And then, you know, there maybe he had homosexual relations, but also homosexuality was not what it is today in ancient Greece. It was kind of like you weren't like defined by what your sexual attraction was, because it wasn't viewed as like a taboo. Like, people could just like fuck a guy and then girls and guys, and it's not like a thing to be defined by as it is in today's culture. So even if he was gay or like whatever you want to call it, there's a solid chance that, you know, he was. And if he was, it wouldn't have been seen as something notable or weird by the people of this time, and they all probably were too. And it just like, yeah, it wasn't like a taboo. So this isn't me like, a lot of people were like saying like, actually it wouldn't have been weird if he was gay, but it's like, it's still come on, like, it's a joke. Like, it's a skit. Obviously this is not a historically accurate skit. Anyway, but that's kind of like a little insight about that time.
Years in, and Alexander's been slapping around Darius pretty good. And after taking over modern-day Turkey, it was time to plan their next move. All right, that was a great victory. Now for diplomacy. Go further east. That's a fantastic idea. No, sir, should we not engage the Persians in negotiations so as to not overextend ourselves and risk hemorrhaging our forces against the largest empire known to man? Oh, my sweet Clythius. No. Alexander was determined to push further east.
I'm like fictionalizing all of these like character types. Like, I decided just for fun to make Alexander the Great just kind of like this little frat boy that's just like, fuck it, we ball. And then there's like a character counter to him, a foil that's like his advisor that's like, sir, should we not like be more like planned and like just kind of really like take our time and figure this out? And he's like, no, fuck it, let's just keep going. And that's just the joke. I mean, there's no like historical accuracy to it, but it's just kind of like the direction I decided to go with his character in my fictional telling of him.
Conquering the whole of Persia, but first he knew he had to secure his supply lines from the danger of the Persian navy, making him the second military mastermind in history to uncover the divine wisdom, soldier need food. And to achieve this security and control the Mediterranean, the city of Tyre needed to fall. There was just one small problem with that though.
One thing about this video, every time I said Tyre in my original recording, I was saying tier. And it wasn't until like, I think like a week before uploading, like after I had like most of it animated, everything's been voiced and been done for like weeks at that point, I thought to myself, what is the actual pronunciation? I've been saying, what was it? Tier or Tyre? I've been saying the wrong one.
Mediterranean, the city of Tyre
I've been saying tier for months while researching this. And then I like looked it up and people were like saying Tyre. I'm like, God damn it. So I had to go through and re-record every time I said tier and say tire instead, so that I wasn't, you know, like looking like a dumbass.
Needed to fall. There was just one small problem with that though.
But that should tell you guys that my research is reading. I don't like just watch other YouTube videos and then write down what other people say. So I don't ever hear people say pronunciations of things usually, and then until I like am like, how do I pronounce this? And then I decide to go look it up.
All right, tire should be right around here. Oh. Looks like it's an island, sir. But what if it wasn't? What? Without a strong enough navy of his own, Alexander decided that Peninsula...
That was actually another skit that I had written down, actually, in my ideas folder for years. Not as long as the first topic, but the whole like Siege of Tyre, I had in my ideas folder for almost as long as the first topic that I wanted to talk about. And so I actually had written this skit idea, like, but what if it wasn't an island? Like back in 2020, 2021. And then I finally just made it into this video. So I'm happy that that skit finally got to see the light of day too.
Were in fashion and ordered his men to throw fuckloads of rocks in the water to build a land bridge all the way to the fortified...
I don't know if you could hear that. This take I really liked, but in the background, you can hear the slight whistling or like high-pitched screech of a truck outside my apartment parking. Hold on.
Ordered his men to throw fuckloads of rocks in the water to...
Right when I say fuckloads of rocks in the water, I really liked my delivery of that, so I didn't want to re-record it, and I was like, maybe you won't notice, but if you listen to it, you can hear it.
Alexander decided that peninsulas were in fashion and ordered his men to throw fuckloads of rocks in the water to build a land bridge all the way to the fortified island of Tyre. However, this would be no easy project. The island was supported by a navy, surrounded by lofty walls, and was a whole kilometer off the coast. But impregnable wasn't a word Alexander liked hearing. This will be a monumental task, not to mention the city is near impregnable. Hey, I have no problem impregnating. I'm the king of Macedonia after all. Right. So anyway, if we want this to work, we're gonna have to figure out how to get it up. Who told you that? That was one time, Clythius. Is Mary running that bitch mouth again? No, sir, I'm sorry. Please, don't be too hard on me. I have no problem getting hard.
Call him Alexander Deflate.
What was that? I said you're Alexander the Great. You have a magnificent cock, sir. Now, chucking enough rocks in the ocean to build a causeway wide enough to shove multiple siege towers out towards our great lord Cthulhu is quite the exhausting task. But luckily for Alexander, there were plenty of local hands perfectly capable of carrying rocks nearby, and they were just too excited to help. All that's needed now is a bountiful supply of rocks. Well, these aren't being used. The Tyrians...
Yeah, so basically they tore down homes from the old city of Tyre, which is on the land, to build it out to the new city of Tyre, which is the island.
Saw them toiling away, planting rocks and sticks in the water, and decided to help out by supplying some of their own. And while I'm sure the gesture was appreciated, their aid had the unfortunate side effect of spray painting the bridge red. Alexander, not vibing with this design direction, built a palisade to protect the workers, along with 2 siege towers at the end of the bridge. However, the Tyrians, much like George Bush, were determined to destroy the 2 towers, so they stuffed a few ships with incendiary materials and crashed them into the structures, burning them to the ground.
So I just thought it was funny to make a little 9/11 joke because I saw the pictures of 2 towers that were then burned and crashed, and I'm like, oh, kind of like 9/11, and I made this joke like kind of like George Bush. I thought it was so funny, and a lot of people liked it, but I also got a lot of comments that were like, oh man, that's too far, like making a 9/11 joke, and I'm like, what? Really? You watch my content and you draw the line there? Like, I make a lot of really raunchy, edgy, fucked up jokes in my videos. This felt tame as hell to me. But you know what? You do you, boo.
But Alexander was rather skeptical of this. Triremes can't melt wooden beams after all, so...
And a lot of people, some people really like that joke. Some people just didn't get it. I don't know if it landed all that well. Like, like, I'm making a joke that Alexander was skeptical of like the fact that they burned down the siege towers. Like, obviously that's not what he was skeptical about, but the joke is I'm saying he was skeptical about that because triremes can't melt wooden beams, like basically like continuing the 9/11 joke, because like there's a whole famous theory that that jet fuel can't melt steel beams, like the whole conspiracy that there was like charges or like bombs detonated inside it was an inside job by George Bush. He was like skeptical, people were skeptical that like planes couldn't have caused 9/11 because jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough to melt steel beams, therefore how could it have collapsed the towers when the plane crashed into it, not taking into account a plane crashed into the building. It's not just on fire, there is a plane hitting the building at plane speed, you know, like that causes things to fall typically. So that's like the joke I'm making, like triremes can't melt wooden beams. It's the same conspiracy theory joke. Not a lot of people got that, and the people that did get it really liked it.
We decided to build yet another, even wider causeway from a second location on the mainland. And why shouldn't he? I mean, the volunteers are practically boiling with excitement after all. Surely he couldn't fail this time. We are talking about the mastermind that solved the Gordian knot. So this is the Gordian knot? It's impossible to untie. Oh, impossible you say? Yeah, it has to be. It's holding a suspended load of concrete over an orphanage. So you're saying it'd take a true hero to untie it, huh? No, ideally it should not be messed with. Oh, sweet Jesus! Yeah, Aristotle was my teacher. But a bridge was...
God, I love that skit so much. That skit was a very late addition to the video. I had this idea last minute. Basically, you know, the legend of the Gordian knot is there is this knot that is like, I think, holding a wagon or something, and it's a knot that's impossible to untie. It is the perfect knot. And so the legend goes, Alexander the Great comes into town, sees this knot, hears this legend, and then cuts it with his sword. He just like swipes it and cuts the knot, and it's like seen as this kind of like divine, it's like a symbol of his divinity and kind of like his like manifest destiny to expand Macedonia. Like he has a divine right because he was able to solve the Gordian knot in a way that should have been so simple. You just cut it. Like, why bother trying to untie this impossible knot? Just cut it in a perfect stroke. It's like a legend, you know, you've all probably heard that story before. And so I just like, I had this idea of like, what if like there's a good reason the knot was not meant to be untied, and like it's holding concrete over an orphanage, and Alexander, being this frat boy persona that I made him to be, just waltz in and is like, oh, you guys can't untie it, well, I got you all handled here, and just cuts it, and people are like, what the fuck? I really love this skit, and all the sound effect work that I did in it, which is where the comedy really comes from, like the swipe, and then the snap, and then the rope went, and then the psh, like all was perfectly timed. I got it. I tweaked them all like frame by frame to get it timed right perfectly so that it was just so funny to me.
Oh, ideally it should not be messed with. Oh, sweet Jesus! Yeah, Aristotle was my teacher. But
and then him being like, yeah, I was taught by Aristotle, by the way. It was like a little, like, hey, did you guys know Alexander the Great was taught by Aristotle? And so he's like, I thought it'd be funny that he's just like flexing that.
Bridge wasn't going to be enough on its own. Alexander needed ships, lots of them, and luckily for him, he had just captured a bunch of Phoenician cities with naval fleets just sitting around collecting dust when they could be collecting skulls. So he rounded them up and brought them to the island. The siege dragged on, the Macedonians slaving away with naval protection, while the Tyrians provided them some public theater with volunteers from the audience. Things would eventually come to an end when the Macedonians...
So one thing I did with this video that I noticed I had stopped doing, with this video I tried to like make sure I grounded myself again with my whimsical writing. I think before it, for a few videos, I felt like I wasn't really leaning into the whimsy as much. I noticed a lot of my videos are getting long. Like this Cold War video is 30 minutes. The slang video was also like up to 30 minutes. This reaction of my video was also 30 minutes. You have these long videos with a lot of explanation, but like my videos in the past were like 8 minutes, you know, and I'm like, what did I do differently? And so I looked at them and I realized I wasn't fully explaining everything like I was now. I was giving the audience more credit than I have been doing lately, in the sense that I will make like joke comments explaining something, assuming people would understand what is happening. So basically what I mean by that is right here, where I say, with the Tyrians providing them some public theater with volunteers from the audience, I'm not saying while they were toiling away, the Tyrians then took captured soldiers, cutting their throats and throwing them off of the wall to send a message and to intimidate the Macedonians who were advancing on their city. That's a mouthful. It is literally what they were doing, and it is good for education. Like, I'm teaching you what happened. But I could also say all that quickly with a joke, how I did, saying, providing public theater with volunteers from the audience, and just show what's happening so that you know, okay, so the Tyrians were killing prisoners of war and throwing them off the walls. And I do that a lot in this video, where I'm explaining things, like the rocks here from the house, like I say, like, all he needs is a bountiful supply of rocks to build his bridge. Well, these aren't being used, showing them tearing down the homes. Instead of, like, sitting here and explaining, so the Macedonians went to the old city of Tyre and broke down the homes used of rock, and then used these materials, and also enslaving the people, to bring them over and then build the bridge. So I could have explained all that, and this video would have been 30 minutes long if I explained everything the way I had been doing in other videos. Instead, I'm like, what if I just go back to how I had been telling jokes as a way of explaining things, knowing that the reader can follow along? And so, that's like an important thing that I gotta make sure I keep doing, because as I get better at writing, more confident with making videos, I'm more confident making longer videos and saying more words and saying them well enough the first time. Where in the past, the reason I had simplified things a lot was because I wrote a lot and didn't like a lot of it. And now when I write a lot, I do like a lot of it, so I keep a lot of it. And so I was trying to actively make sure I simplified things that didn't have to be fully explained. And that's a long explanation, ironically, to explain why I'm explaining things simply.
Theater with volunteers from the audience. Things would eventually come to an end when the Macedonians overwhelmed the Tyrians by attacking from both man-made land and sea. And finally, after the great Alexander gloriously conquered the city, cementing yet another story in his legacy that would sculpt the cultural transcending legend of a truly magnificent man, he was able to stand tall atop his prize and sell the women and children to slavery, crucifying 2,000 of the few surviving men. As they say, another epic victory for the OG. Who says that? It'll catch on, you'll see. Well, you won't see. You'll be very dead. Only the citizens taking shelter in a temple were spared, including the king of Tyre himself. As for Alexander's 7-month rock stacking project, the remains of it are still visible, and centuries of sand accumulation have terraformed the island of Tyre into the peninsula of Tyre, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world that you can still visit to this day.
I find it so cool when there are stories in history like this that are so long ago. This is BC we're talking about, before, you know, Christmas, and we have actual, like, living land showing that this happened. It's not something in a museum. Like, that's different. Like, an artifact in a museum, it's like, yeah, that's been protected and, like, dug up. This is still there. That's so cool. That's so old. You still can see the fact that they had built this bridge, this man-made bridge, out to this city. And I find that fascinating. So that was, like, really cool to learn about. And then also I wanted to, like, highlight the fact that, hey, yeah, Alexander the Great did a lot of not great things, by the way. We can't forget that. Like, idealizing historical figures can be problematic at times. Like, he still had slaves and killed people and shit. Like, it was I wanted to make sure I highlighted the fact that he did that.
Well, maybe hold off for now. We remember.
Oh yeah, then mentioning the fact that, you know, right now you can't really go visit because of the whole war with Israel and whatnot.
Remember the Cold War is that funny half-century period where two halves of the world edged each other to see who would splooge plutonium first. But while today we know,
yeah, like jokes like that. Like, I'm talking about, like, the superpowers jacking each other off and coming nukes, and people are like, the 9/11 joke is too far. Like, really? I mean, I know that's a different kind of too far, but still, like, I make jokes, guys.
Both sides ended up being true long-lasting kings. The Brits of the 1950s weren't so sure. It needed to develop some contingency plans in case the hammer and sickle came a-knockin'.
You know what's funny is, looking back at stuff like this, like, I started this segment saying, like, the Cold War is when the USSR and US jacked each other off and trying to see who would come nukes. And then I think to myself, I have so many comments about how teachers show my videos in their class. And then I realize, I've had a lot less comments recently about how teachers show my videos in their class. And I wonder if this is a reason, or if I just don't see them as much,
But how does one stop the LeBron of steamrolling through Eastern Europe from doing just that? Well, luckily, the puzzle of keeping big groups of people out of big chunks of area while also assisting with Hell's underpopulation problem had already been solved. Landmines. Only problem was, landmines were kind of lacking pizzazz. That was last decade's fashion after all, so how does one jazz up this concept with the taste of the 1950s trends? Introducing Operation Blue Peacock, which was renamed from Blue Bunny, which was renamed from Brown Bunny. Really doing everything they can to avoid a Warner Bros. Lawsuit. Blue Peacock was a project to develop a nuclear landmine with the goal of putting the first Soviet man into orbit. The plan was to bury a bunch of these in an area so uninhabitable and undesirable that nobody would mind it getting destroyed and irradiated. Somewhere like Germany. This way, if the...
That picture was from my my radiation video. If you remember the radiation science video, this background. I brought it back.
Nobody would mind it getting destroyed and irradiated. Somewhere like Germany. This way, if the Soviets were to invade the Iron Curtain, their advance would be halted in their tracks with some atomic confetti, blanketing the area in enough radioactive fallout to prevent enemy occupation. This 10-kiloton nuke, weighing 7,300 kilograms, would be buried 35 feet deep and blast a crater 640 feet across. To help visualize, that is a bomb weighing 780,302.73 gumballs with a 100 billion gumball yield, buried 420 gumballs deep and exploding a 7,680 gumball wide crater.
It's crazy to see how far the gumball bit has come. Like, I believe I first made a gumball joke in my Russian Navy video, which obviously that's the reason, that's the one that blew up for my channel. And ever since then, I've tried almost every time to do a gumball reference measurement in my videos. And it's not like something I'm just like forcing, by the way. Ever since I was a kid, I always visualized money in gumballs because it was 25 cents for a gumball. So like if I wanted to like, if someone was like, oh, this person just won $1 million, I'm like, oh my god, that's 4 million gumballs. That's always like the kind of like joke I would have as a kid. And also like how I literally visualized money was with gumballs, like putting it into gumballs, because I loved gumballs. They were, I mean, who doesn't? It's great. You going to like a restaurant and they have like a little gumball machine and you get a gumball. It's fun. And so I decided to like use it as my units for things. And for this video, I literally did unit conversions. I have a gumball standard, like SI sheet, like a standard measurement in gumballs for every unit that I have used in videos. So like I have a official BlueJay gumball weight, official BlueJay gumball length, official BlueJay gumball kiloton yield, so energy. I have an energy unit, I have a money unit, 25 cents, and I use it in my videos. So every time I need to do a new unit conversion, I will do the math to put it into gumballs and use that in the video and update my little SI sheet of gumballs. In this video, I really got to have fun with it by doing not only weight and like length, but also like kiloton yield in gumballs. So I have a joule conversion for gumballs now.
With how big these puppies were, you weren't exactly able to litter a whole minefield with them, so they had to choose their locations very strategically. Alright Vlad, it was a good day one, but I'm thinking we set up supply depot before pushing on. This looks like a good spot, so let's...
Hey! A little more to the right!
Of course, these landmines couldn't be pressure activated, not unless we wanted some kid playing hopscotch to step on a crack and break the sound barrier. So instead, they were designed to be detonated either by wire or by an 8-day timer. And to prevent anyone from being too nosy, it would also detonate if it was tampered with by any passing Russian soldier and or curious child. There was just one problem with this plan. With the bomb being 35 feet deep in German soil, cold winter temperatures would prevent the electronics from working properly. So those lab boys back in the UK had to come up with an idea idea so ingenious, so brilliant, that they could keep their bomb internals safely warm for 8 whole days in the field until detonation. Congratulations on your new appointment, Dr. Pekka. Our team couldn't have selected anyone better. I'm just happy to be given the opportunity. After 8 long years of higher education, I'm excited to finally be able to pay off my loans and provide for my wife and eggs back home. The job market is tough for my kind, as you can imagine. Well, I can assure you we don't discriminate here at Fort Halstead. We only pick the best candidates for the job. I'm glad to hear that. So, where's my office? Oh, just right in here. The Brits' genius idea was to stuff.
It's hard to see, but like the facial expressions of the chicken make the skits so funny to me. Like I don't know if that came through. I had to like add a little white glow around his eyes so it would stand out better with the non-white face, you know? And so like his eyes narrow when he's like, we only peck, and he's like, what'd you just say? I'm tired of these jokes. I love Dr. Pecker.
Oh, just
he's
right
so
in
funny.
here. The Brits' genius idea was to stuff a live chicken in a nuclear landmine to keep it warm with good old-fashioned body heat. They planned to give it enough food to prevent it from pecking at wires and keeping it alive for at least 8 days before it was sent to the Shadow Realm. Truly a device only conceivable by the West, as pumping a KFC meal full of the entire electromagnetic spectrum is nothing more than the final evolution of ultra-processed meat. So with 2 prototypes built and 10 orders in the horizon, all that was left was to put their cock-filled plan into motion. Yeah, so we'll just kind of spread them out around here. Ben, will this be a problem? Only if you're invested in local real estate. No, they'll be quite dead. The Brits chickened out of the...
I had a different version of that skit too that I was deciding between for a while, and then my girlfriend really didn't like it, and so I was like, all right, I'll think of something else. Like the original idea I had was like it was gonna be in the lab, like everyone's like working, and then there's like a guy in the middle of like everyone working just holding a map, and he's like, wait a minute boys, what's this stuff? And he's like pointing at the map, and then it, like the camera shows the map with his hand on it, and then it just shows like a map of Germany with a X for big nuke, and then just a massive word around it saying people. Like what's this stuff? Like pointing at people. Like what was there's all these people around this nuke? What the fuck is that about? And it would have been funny still. It's one of those jokes it's hard to like explain to people without drawing it because it's very visual focused. But anyway, because she wasn't a fan, I was like, all right, let me just rethink this. And I ended up liking this version better, where he's like, only if you're invested in the local real estate, as like a horrified woman is looking on holding her baby.
Project once they remembered that nuclear fallout was famously unpredictable and could drift towards what I guess you could refer to as people. Blue Peacock was
that was kind of my way of preserving the bit.
Was kept secret until it was declassified on April 1st, 2004, leading many to believe that shoving a Popeyes combo in a nuke had to be an April Fool's joke, to which the head of education at the National Archives responded, "The civil service does not do jokes." While trashing a project that spent 4 years in development sounds like a complete waste of time, they did find a way to salvage this at the end of the day. All that hard work designing and developing a wacky weapon prototype would end up fueling Britain's other favorite hobby: filling museum basements. Wacky War Tactics Part 3, 8.1452 out of 10 stars.
That, I don't know if you noticed, like as I was saying 1452, I was actually filling out this like image of another star a little bit more.
1452 out of 10.
To like symbolize the actual percentage. Like I cut it off around the 1452, just adding a little bit more as more numbers were listed off. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just fucking decided to like add a lot of fucking sig stars because I measure this shit so accurately. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. These people are the ones that are letting me do YouTube full time now. It's not like an easy life, but you know, it's not a bad one. I'm really blessed to be able to be doing this. It's a lot of work, so these people make it worth it. You all make it worth it for just being here watching, just being fans at all are making it worth it. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And then at the end, of course, we have the little extra joke at the bottom of the screen here. That's a nice social security number you got there. I always have ominous text that comes onto screen. I hope you guys liked that little additional insight. I hope I provided enough since it's been so long since I've researched this. I'm sure there's other details I've forgotten, but I mean, that's kind of like, what I had in mind. Yeah, I mean, now I'm open to the Q&A portion for a little bit here at the end. I'm kind of surprised I was able to yap for almost 2 hours now. Jeez, I mean, let's go. I was kind of worried it'd be like a quick 25 minutes and I'm done, but no, I found a way to yap even though it's been so long. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll take that. And sorry for missing any questions earlier, or comments or whatnot. It's hard to do a lot of this kind of like while, you know, I'm talking, and being a streamer at the same time is a little hard. This honestly wouldn't make much sense as a live stream normally. I think most people would do a thing like this as a you know, like an actual recorded sit down video, but you know, I find that doing it this way makes it easier to actually pay attention. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Oh, how do I say your name? Reza Bliad. If I fucked that up, I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for the donation, man. Thank you. Oh, wow, that's a lot. You did not need to do that. I'm sorry you missed the live, but you can always rewatch it, and we're also going to be making it into a more curated cut-up video than posting it, so that I have a video in the past, you know, since not posting for half a year now. But thank you so much for the donation, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. But I could scroll and see some other questions I got here. So I did see Dooley the Observer asks, what is your process you go through making skits? Well, it really depends. It can be very, very varied, as you heard me talk about a little bit in this video, if you were, or in the stream, if you were here the whole time. Sometimes a skit is something I have an idea for years ago, and I finally get to it when I want to make the video. So like some skits are what spawn a video. I'll be like reading about some interesting bit of history, and then as I'm reading, I'll get a joke in my head, just like not even like I'm trying. Like that's just how my brain works. When I'm reading about something, my brain puts that something into a scene, into characters, and then like I imagine some very stupid way that it plays out. And those are usually my favorite skits, because it's just kind of like, it goes back to like one of the main reasons. Thank you so much, Reese. I'm glad you like my channels. It goes back to one of the reasons I started doing this YouTube stuff was because I would be like in a class or something, right? Hearing about a story, and then I would like think of a joke, or I would have like one of these skits pop into my brain, and then I'll like turn to my friend next to me and be like, so like imagine if Alexander was fucking gay and like got spanked by his friend, and they'd be like, what? Or like they would be like, or like kind of laugh. And I was always like, nah, if you saw what was in my head, you would find it so funny, I promise. And so these videos kind of started as a way for me to literally draw out what was in my head, so that other people could actually experience these jokes the same way I'm experiencing them, and see why I'm laughing to myself while I'm sitting in history class. And so that's like one way that a skit can get made. Other ways, it's like, I know I could think of a skit here, so let me just take some time and think of like how I can make this into a bit. In this video specifically, I knew, like for example, this last skit, like the this one here, where he's explaining like where to put the nuke. I knew I wanted to think of some kind of skit to put here. This skit didn't pop into mind originally while I was researching this, but like it had been a while at this point in the script where I didn't have a skit, or it could just be a part of the skit or the story. Not script, skit. Yeah, so many S words. The part of the story where it feels like this is a very interesting part, or a funny part, or just absurd part of the story, that a skit could really highlight the absurdity of it. So at this point, specifically for this story, I'm talking about where like why it's crazy to be putting nukes where they're putting them. So to highlight that absurdity, I wanted to put in an absurd skit. So my process for that would just be kind of like, you know, what could be funny? I sit down and think to myself for a while. I'm like sitting somewhere at like a coffee shop at my desk or whatever, and I'm like thinking about how something like this could be funny. Maybe I'm looking at other things I've written for like inspiration, or I try not to think about it sometimes. I try to think about other funny things, or I just like go about my life thinking about other stuff while it's in the back of my head until I get a little spark of inspiration. and then I write down the core punchline of the idea. And then I try to find, I'm really good at like fleshing out dialogue, I feel like. So then I go from there to flesh out the dialogue and banter between the characters to really like hit home with the comedy, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like how my brain goes about doing that for a skit. And then, then it's just, part of the script, and then I voice act it. And that can be hard or easy depending on what kind of skit it is. And so I eventually... I eventually draw it out, and that's kind of like the process there. You mentioned 6 tenets of building a BlueJay. Oh, 6 pillars of building a BlueJay video. What are they, and how did they develop? Okay, that's a great question. So, I've always had these pillars in the back of my head, but I hadn't really fully fleshed them out or wrote them down in their entirety until a couple of months ago. I've always had, I've had some of them written for a long time. And I've always knew knew parts of like what makes a BlueJay video. Like I like rhyming, I like whimsy, I like feeling like it is kind of magical in a way, like whimsical. And like the lore, I've always wanted to like expand upon the lore, but the 6 pillars I have, I can go through them real quick if you'd like. So the first one I have, they're not all in like an order of importance, but this one kind of is one of the most important for me, is whimsy, as I said. And so like I have written here to remind myself that rhyme and whimsy are essential ingredients to every BlueJay video. It's really as simple as that. I think one of the most, basically when thinking about how these, like what is a pillar, is I think about what do I feel like is the core ingredients to my videos, like what makes my video as opposed to another channel that does something similar to what I do. And I think what makes my videos feel really like mine is how whimsical they are. And so I try to keep that as a core principle when it comes to writing. I make sure I include that. If I'm feeling lost or like something feels off, I'll look at my tenets or my pillars and see which of these is lacking in this portion of the script. So whimsy is one of the most important one. Another one is density. So I have a BlueJay video is packed full of content, value, and substance that multiple rewatches are rewarded. Basically, every video that I make, I want to make sure doesn't feel like you're kind of waiting for the next thing. There's always something funny. There's always some kind of little joke, some little jab, some little like haha. It could be something on the screen, it could be something in the writing, it could be a little alliteration, it could be whatever. It just has to be dense. And basically my goal there is you're always entertained and you're probably gonna miss stuff. And so if you are someone who really likes my content and wants to rewatch it, odds are when you rewatch the video, you're gonna see things you missed before, or at least that's the goal. And a lot of people say that is the case because like one of the most common feedback pieces I get from people in my everyday life that watch my content is that like they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to watch it again because I feel like I missed stuff. Again, that's kind of by design. I want you to feel that way, not like to a detriment, but to a point where if you were to go back and watch it, you would get something out of it. It's not like you're just seeing the same shit again. So that's important. And then I have experimentation. So each BlueJay video experiments with a new idea, whether that be in the writing, animation, or voice acting. So every time I do a video, I want to try to challenge myself in some way. That could be I'm trying to go extra hard with a character's voice acting. And like you've seen that in videos, like for example my duels video from forever ago. I have a skit in there where there are these 2 guys sitting on a carriage while the guys inside the carriage are dueling, and the whole skit is like a minute and a half of you just hearing these guys viscerally stabbing and slicing each other and screaming, and it's really funny. And so for that I was challenging myself with how much could I do like a fight voice acted so that it like you didn't need any visuals to kind of know what was going on. And that was how I experimented, how I pushed myself there to try something new. In this video, one of the biggest ways I pushed myself was with this background. I like how I talked about at the very beginning with having an area here with high detail, then going off into less detail. I really tried to experiment with a new texturing in the background. And then also the experimentation was starting with kind of like a cinematic opening where you have the soldier being zoomed in on. You have all the war sounds. You have like the date pop up like you'd see in a movie. That is me experimenting with a more cinematic approach. And seeing like how that goes. Can I do that? Can I tell an entire story in the intro of this video? And that was kind of like my bigger experiment for this video. But yeah, that's an important pillar for me. So those are the first three. And then lore, which I talked about earlier. Basically every BlueJay video has extended lore, expanding upon the world and developing the characters. So that includes not only BlueJay, but like Alex, Timmy, these characters that you see frequently in my videos, they are expanded upon. I try to make sure every video expands upon something like that in some way. It's not always very strong. These pillars aren't all like supposed to be at 100% for every video. They just need to be present. Another pillar I have is subtext. So a BlueJay video seeks to subconsciously educate the viewer on various lessons in morality, developing their character through subtext, overarching themes, or other methods. So basically, I think my content, I'm trying to instill lessons of morality, or basically what it means to be a good person. And basically just, I try to teach. There's something I'm trying to teach in every video, a lesson I'm trying to get people to take away from my videos, because I'm a storyteller at the end of the day. That's what I kind of view myself most as. And for me, growing up, stories were one of the most essential parts of my development. Reading books, watching shows and movies, and reading what characters did and how they thought and the choices they made were crucial for developing my own moral philosophy, my own moral code, who I am as a person. I think that is invaluable and something that isn't talked about enough. A lot of people think to be taught morals means to be told morals, like reading a philosophy book. For me, that's good and it's great. I'm not trying to discount that. That's not how I developed. Like, you know, like as a kid reading Harry Potter, like reading how Harry developed and how he faced hardship was huge for me. Or Percy Jackson, reading Percy Jackson like did a lot for my development. Or like video game characters, like teaching me how to respond to certain like struggles in a video game. Like actually that teaches you how to be a person, right? So that was kind of like one of the really important things for me to do in my videos. And so I have something like that in all of my videos. Like a really good example of that would be in my oh, what was that? Oh, wow. Thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships on. I don't think anyone's ever gifted memberships on YouTube before. Thank you so much. Reza, thank you so much for doing that. And welcome to everyone that is now a member of RedJay. You guys are way too kind to me today. I really appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you so much. Anyway, what I was saying though, to make sure I don't lose my train of thought. So like, for example, if you look at my Cola Wars video, the whole video is framed as like, actually, maybe I should save that commentary for when I actually get to that video. Maybe let me talk about my slang video. I feel like I've talked about this in one of my past director's commentaries too. But essentially, like, you know, by talking about certain topics, and like making jokes or like showing, for example, a CEO being comically evil, or even like through BlueJay, like doing things to Alex, or like putting him in situations, or like teaching him how to do something that is kind of a bad thing, and showing the negative outcomes of doing those bad things, like in like one of the how-to videos, for example, is kind of like my goal is to teach people morally why certain ways of thought or why certain actions are bad. And I don't know if that made much sense, but I think there's a lot of like channels out there that will just like flat out tell you what's good and what's bad, like especially like politics stuff. And I think there's enough voices like that out there, and I wanted to be a voice that was doing that subtextually. I think there's a lot of people out there that won't change if you tell them how to act, but if you show them examples of people doing bad things in history, okay, like in this video, like Alexander the Great, and how he is kind of funny and goofy and he's loved. He's the great, Alexander the Great. And then I highlight the horrid outcome of this heroic story that's often told with heroism. Like he ends up killing the male population and enslaving the women and children. Like that's the lesson subtextually there, is not only one about how you shouldn't idealize people too much, but how there is a lot of glorification of things like war, especially ancient war, where it's kind of like the only time you interact with it is through like movies and epics, where it's like cool and awesome and heroic and fairy tale-esque, but it's also bad, and it's dangerous to do that because I shock you back to reality with this is what he ended up doing to the people that were innocent. And so that's kind of like an example of the subtextual pillar in this video. I kind of like stuck on that for a while, but that's an important one. And then the last pillar is quality. So for a RedJay video, quality is king. If something is wrong, fix it. If you're not satisfied, improve it. If you have a great idea, even if time consuming, do it. To an extent, obviously. So basically, that's kind of like a really important one to me, because there are many times where I'm like, oh man, I have this cool idea for like a funny skit, but man, drawing that would take so long. And then I think of this pillar and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. Or like I'm drawing a background and I'm like, man, did I really have to do this? And I'm like, nope, do it. People aren't gonna notice it, but they will notice it. I don't know if that makes sense, but like when you're watching this video, you're not noticing this detail. You're not like sitting here going like, wow, that's detailed. Maybe you are, but not everyone. You rhetorically. And so what I'm saying is that you will notice the quality of the video subconsciously. You may not notice that I put in a lot of effort to this background, but hopefully the goal is you'll walk away from the video thinking that was a well-made video. Maybe you can't put your finger on why, but you know that I took those little steps and those little bits of effort, those crossroads that I've came to in the process of making the video, in choosing the route of more effort with more reward to make an overall better product, or piece of art, not product. It's not product. And that is a very important pillar to me. And so like for this video, an example of the quality is of something being wrong, fix it. How I mentioned earlier, I was pronouncing tire as tier, and I could have just left it as tier and gotten some annoyed comments, but it would have been fine. Instead, I'm like, no, I'm going to go back and re-record it. And that's an example of me following the quality pillar. And so those are my 6 pillars. I know it was a very long answer to that question, but it's a very important question. Did not mean to distract, just showing appreciation. Oh no, you're totally good. I loved hearing those like little pings come in. Thank you so much. I think there's a way to do it where I can make it just one notification, and I'll have to like look at that. YouTube is weird with the Streamlabs, whatever. But thank you so much for the support. That was great. Anyway, I hope that answered your question. And then Chowder says, have you ever thought of revisiting a previous episode and doing a deeper historical dive on it? Yes, I actually have. I have thought extensively about doing that to my first video, the China video. I look back on it and I love it, but also I recognize flaws in it, and I think things could have been explained better, things could have been expanded upon, things could have been included, and things could have been better spoken. And I think some of it's not fully correct, and I think there is probably more bias than there should be in how I'm explaining some aspects of China. And I think I should have highlighted more on some good things about China. I talk a lot about the bad because it's easy to talk about the bad. Like the bad makes entertainment often. And so it can be easy to not like highlight the good when you can and still make an entertaining video. And so I feel like I would kind of want to revisit that and redo it. Granted, I don't know if I will, because maybe I will. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to talk about stuff like this today because it comes off political, and I don't want to be like put into that category really. And you know, I want to be right when I'm talking about things that kind of like brush up on political topics. So it'd be difficult. And but it is something that I've thought about a lot actually. So that is a good question, because with this video specifically, the China video, I think about redoing it. I'm not gonna take it down because I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's like wrong. I think there are things that could have been researched a little better at points, but I also don't believe in taking down things because you don't agree with them anymore. I think it's important to keep things as like a time capsule. And you know, I don't imagine myself taking down any of these videos no matter how much they embarrass me. Like this, I'll watch some of these videos and cringe a good amount, like up to like here and here. I mean, even past here. But yeah. Yeah, that one probably. Shashwan, hello, asks, by the way, Blue Jay, what was your inspiration for the drip rifle? Like, how did you animate and create it? Also, suggest some new emotes, including the drip rifle from the Wacky War Tactics 3 video. That'd be a hard emote to do because it's long. The drip rifle specifically, it's a very long and wide image. So, like, making that into an emote would be like this much empty space. It'd be very small. I don't know if that would look really good. I could zoom in on a part of it maybe, but it wouldn't be as great overall. But I mean, I can look into it. What the inspiration for how I animated it, I wanted to do a cinematic intro like I was talking about earlier. So I was kind of like thinking about like one of the exposition shots you'd see in like a war movie, where they're like zooming in on a location and a scene unfolding, and then like the text comes out dramatically to show the time and the location. And so yeah, that's that's kind of like how I went about doing that. I talked about that a little earlier in the director's commentary too, like my method for it. What videos would you cringe the most, or make you cringe the most? I would say, shit, that's hard. I cringe a lot at the Olympic marathon video, but I also really like it. I think I cringe a lot in the, I mean, oh, it's hard. They all have cringe moments. Like, just listen to them. Yeah, listen to that beautiful ad. This is the downside of not using a browser that I'm signed in on, because I have to view the ads. I have YouTube Premium, so I don't see ads.
Taking our classic chicken
There's another
sandwich
one.
to the
Hold
next.
on. I'm getting money. Daddy getting paid.
Is a culturally rich ancient civilization that has survived the test of time and is still around today.
If you can't already immediately hear how different I sound, that makes me cringe a little bit. But then like some jokes, like this makes me cringe a bit. This delivery here.
Bites the dust in 1925, working with the communists who were all like, God, these warlords are annoying. Luckily, we're close to a unified China.
Like the, God, these warlords are annoying. Like the exhale there. I'm like, oh, bro.
Yeah, those warlords are gross. You wanna know who's really gross? Them commie bastards. Yeah, wait, what? Chang turns on the
I do still find it funny, but like I cringe at like a lot of the deliveries and just how I say words. It's not how I do it now. I've changed my style quite a bit. But yeah, oh my gosh. I forgot I drew a Mickey. That's terrible. That makes me cringe a bit. Not really, it's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say which video specifically makes me cringe because I don't watch them in full much anymore because I'm cringing. But it's one of these earlier ones for sure. They all have their moments. Let's see. Your art has gotten so much better. Thank you. I agree that, I mean, I I've been teaching myself how to draw with help from Cass, who drew my bird and does all the hats that you see in my videos, which, by the way, as the obligatory shout out, go to Cass's website. Here it is. She is amazing, the best artist I've ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating or biased. She's incredible. She's got a lot of socials. Make sure to follow her. She posts amazing stuff. She posts art in my Discord all the time. You can find her Twitter, her Blue Sky, Instagram, all that. She's also got a website where she sells stuff like stickers and artwork. She's incredible. Like, she drew this. This is her hand that did this. Can you believe that? I can't. I still can't. I still think she's lying to me. She's just a reincarnation of Michelangelo or something. But you can buy it and check it out. She deserves all the love. She doesn't get enough. I wish I could like call her out or shout her out in every video, but I put her in my description. So anyway, could we ever get a commentary video on these older videos? I've thought about it. I'm scared to do it because I don't know how much context I can provide in terms of like accuracy and historical accuracy, because I don't remember a ton about the research processes for some of them. Some of them I do really well, but you know what? I probably could, and I probably should, honestly. It could be interesting. It'd be a different perspective for sure. And we'll see how much I can remember talking about. But yeah, I mean, I'm considering doing that. I know Nate's been trying to get me to do that. Excuse me. I've been talking for a while. My voice is cracking. Love it. I've rewatched your videos so many times and love seeing your reactions to stuff. I appreciate that. Thank you. Where do you think you have grown the most, and where do you still need to grow? I still need to grow everywhere. I have grown the most in, I mean, it's hard to... So one exercise Cass has me do. So Cass is not only the person that draws my birds and my hats for my birds, but she's also my art mentor, my creative mentor. We have meetings every month where we sit down Saturday mornings, get on a call and talk for like 3-4 hours, where she goes over homework assignments that she gives me and things that she wants me to talk about and think about, and exercises to help me improve in areas. One of those exercises she calls buckets, which basically that is a little bar chart, like a bar graph that you're making. I'm trying to like look at an example in my notebook here if you can hear me flipping my pages, where basically you have these different buckets. Like for me, a bucket would be writing, or voice acting, or animation, or research and planning, or like software, how I use the software. And I have on my y-axis like my skill or level, or like where I think I'm at. And so I kind of like make an arbitrary bar graph, or how I view myself as how skilled I am in these various things. So like usually I have my writing as my biggest bucket, and followed by voice acting, and then research, and then animation. And each video, when I complete a video, I update these buckets, and I either fill them or drain them a little bit if I think I like really fell behind on like how I think I've progressed in a skill. If I think something has fallen off from not focusing on it enough, maybe the bucket goes down, but usually they go up. And so I have noticed that I think still my biggest strength is my writing, but I think in terms of growth, I have improved the most probably with animation, because I'm thinking about like where I was established before this YouTube channel. Before YouTube, I did a ton of acting. I did theater, I made films, I had been in stuff, like not like in Hollywood, but you know, I'd been doing stuff since like high school and before. I've been making videos on YouTube since like 2009. So I've always been doing writing. I've been doing the acting. So I've always had like a pre-established skill there. But when it comes to animation, I've done stuff in the past for fun, but nothing seriously. So I think I've probably grown the most when it comes to drawing and animation, followed by voice acting. As you can hear in these videos, I think I've gotten better at expressing myself on YouTube in voice acting, like how I'm doing skits now.
Victory! Now for diplomacy. Go further east. That's a fantastic idea.
Like that, those deliveries compared to like, please don't do an ad, please.
I'm Christina, the United States.
Yeah, fuck off.
is a culturally rich
Compared to,
ancient
like-
civilization that has survived the test of time and is still around today. The world and saw that your nation wasn't really certified dank unless you had a lot of steel output. But instead of taking calculated steps to industrialize over time, Mao wanted it now, introducing his plan for the Great Leap Forward.
Wait,
Yeah, so get this. How about instead of your usual farming and selling all your extra crop, we keep the you farming part, but we take all your crop for the important people.
compared to, you know.
No, sir, should we not engage the Persians in negotiations so as to not overextend ourselves and risk hemorrhaging our forces against the largest empire known to man? Oh, my sweet Clythius. No.
That is the exact same microphone, the exact same program, the exact same microphone settings. Everything is the exact same. The only difference between those two recordings that you just heard is my confidence in my voice acting. That is the only thing that has changed. There's the same voice, same person, same equipment and everything. It is the exact same mic, believe it or not. I still use the exact same shitty $50 microphone set I got off of Amazon. And it's terrible. And I've not changed it because, I mean, you really don't need an amazing microphone to make good sounding stuff. It's mostly about your environment. But like, I mean, that environment was like the same as like this environment for this video. So I think I've improved quite a bit in voice acting, I would say. And then writing. I've definitely improved in writing. But I think I was always pretty good at writing. Forgive myself for, you know, stroking my own cock a little bit. Let's see. Fellow history person here, and I love your videos and snark. Very big fan of your writing and acting. Wonderful timing. Thank you so much, Nico. I really appreciate that. Wait. Nico, are you in my, or were you in my Discord? Or there was someone else I remember talking to called Nico on Discord like years ago, but I don't know if that's you. Make sure I'm not ignoring the other chat that I have here. At least Disney won't sue you for copyright infringement. Yes. For the Mickey drawing. When are we getting an in-depth overview of all of Warhammer lore? The second I know any Warhammer lore, I'm on that, but I know nothing. I've had friends explain it to me many times, and I don't know fuck all. I'll answer a few more things here. Your wordplay is next to none. I love it. Thank you so much. That's way too kind, but I appreciate that. Blue Jay Theater Kid, yes. I really was. Hearing you swear is like hearing a parent swear. If I've already binged everything on your channel 3 times, what similar channels would you suggest to get me through to your next upload? Okay, all right, that's a good question. What channels do I like? You know, ironically, I don't really watch that much history content. But when I do, I'm partial to channels like CGP Grey. I really like CGP Grey. I imagine a lot of you guys are familiar with CGP Grey. He's great. He also does the Whimsy, and I always fuck with the Whimsy, so that's huge for me. Let me think. There is also what's his name? Is it Scott? Is it oh my god. The guy that did a video every single week and then stopped. Oh my god. Fuck, what's his name? You guys know. You guys know his name. Why am I blanking on it? It's not Scott the Waz. Why do I keep thinking of Scott the Waz? It's not Scott the Waz, it's not Scott either. It's the guy that quit YouTube and then came back recently. YouTubers that quit. He's big. Tom Scott. Thank you. Scott was his last name. It's Tom Scott. Tom Scott is another great channel. I really like him. I really like Casually Explained. He's not like history, but he is very, very funny, and I think he's witty as hell, and I think that kind of like falls into the whimsy category for me, the wit. I like to do a lot of wittiness with my writing as well, or I try to, and he's great. He has a really excellent wordplay, and makes very intelligent jokes is like how I would describe them, where you kind of feel smart for getting it, if that makes sense. I like that channel as well. I would recommend, probably those three are some of my favorites in that category. I'm trying to think of who else I even watch. I'm like scrolling through my sub list right now. But a lot of the channels I watch are not like what I do. I like to watch a lot of, animators. There are people like that. Like Film Cow is great. Dubus Goobus is funny. I like him. I mean, Vsauce obviously, but like I don't need to recommend people to watch Vsauce. You've all seen him. What else do I got here? Is that all my subscriptions? No way. Oh, there's all subscriptions button. Whew, that's gonna be exciting. That'd be a fun video, like just scrolling through my subscriptions. Ice Cream Sandwich is great. He's a great animator. I think he's funny as hell. What are you guys saying? Let me see. Hexagons, Bestigons. Yeah, he's great. Fat Electrician. I've heard people recommend him before, but I've not seen him, so I can't speak on it. Oversimplified, I've heard people talk about. I've actually not watched Oversimplified. I think recently I tried watching a video, and I can see why people like the Oversimplified. Yeah, they're huge. I mean, I know who they are. I'm not ignorant and acting like, oh, who's Oversimplified? I just have never. It's like one of those things that's like really big that you just had never, seen or partaken in. Just not like you're trying not to, but I just haven't. But I know they're huge. Casually Explain's great, of course. I've said that. Salmonella is another great channel. I've watched Salmonella. I like Salmonella. He's great. Yeah, that's probably like one of the most similar to ones. Probably I'd say Alternate History Hub is good too. I've seen a few over the years. I can't like remember any off the top of my head, but I just know I've seen Alternate History Hub. Intellect, yeah. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's director's commentary. I'm gonna have to cut it off because I have got quite a bit of chores I gotta do. I have some friends coming over tomorrow, and I need to make sure my place looks presentable for that. So I hope I was able to give you guys some good insight into this very lovely video that I look back on with fondness. Please make sure to support Cass, and if you want to join our Discord or something, there's links that you can find on places like in the descriptions and shit. Subreddit, fun stuff. The subreddit's hilarious because people on there just like think it is a Blue Jay like bird subreddit and just like post pictures of Blue Jays, and then all the comments are like making jokes like I hope that you don't get kidnapped or something. Oh, like be careful. Like I see that a lot. And like they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't know this was for a YouTuber. I love the interactions on these. It's so funny. Let me see if I can find a good example of what I'm talking about. Like people will post this like, this little guy fell out of the nest today and we saved him, yada yada yada. Be warned, he might grow up to use you for experiments. And they're just like, what the fuck? Run, Alex, run. People do not know what this sub is for, and all the commenters do, and it is the funniest thing to me. Sometimes you'll get an actual Blue Jay post, but it's mostly like birds from people that think it is a subreddit for birds. Oh, it's delightful. Anyway, all right. I'll catch you all later. Ta-ta. Cheers. Thank you for joining.